Have you ever wondered why no one truly tells you what life feels like after 80? What if the biggest changes aren't physical, but emotional and social, and no one warned you? And what if the hardest part isn't aging itself, but how the world starts treating you differently without saying a word? Life after 80 isn't just about aching joints or slower mornings. It's about deeper, more unexpected shifts that unfold quietly, or sometimes crash over you like a wave. And here's the truth. Most people don't talk about these changes until they're already happening. By then, you might be left asking yourself, what just happened? In today's video, we're going to explore 5 shocking realities that many people face after turning 80. These aren't just facts about aging. They're truths that change how others see you, how you feel inside, and how you navigate your daily life. Some are painful, some are surprising, but all are essential to understand. Why? Because when you're aware of what's coming, you gain the power to meet it head-on with strength, clarity, and dignity. Stay with us until the end, because this isn't just about opening your eyes. It's about showing you how even the most uncomfortable truths can lead to greater peace, confidence, and resilience. Let's dive into the first reality. People stop asking for your opinion, even when you've lived through far more than they have. This one stings. At some point after 80, a quiet shift takes place. You go from being someone others turn to for wisdom to someone they smile at politely and then brush past. It doesn't matter if you've survived wars, raised children, built businesses, or repaired homes with your own 2 hands. Once your hair turns silver and your steps begin to slow, people start assuming your insight no longer holds value. And here's the thing. They often don't even mean to do it. It's not out of cruelty. Sometimes they're completely unaware. But for the person on the receiving end, the silence can feel heavy, like your voice no longer matters. You begin to notice it in the smallest shifts during conversations. Younger people may smile politely when you speak, but behind their eyes, you can almost see the wheels turning. They're already preparing what they want to say next. You offer a thoughtful suggestion, rooted in decades of real experience, but it's gently brushed aside. Not with anger or disrespect, but with a soft, dismissive tone. That's not really how we do things anymore. It's not about wanting control. You're not trying to impose your way. What stings is knowing how much trial, error, and hard-earned wisdom led you to that suggestion. And still, it's overlooked. This shift hits hardest within your own family. Maybe your son, who once called before every big decision, now only informs you after the fact. Your daughter-in-law might ask how you're feeling, but never how you see things. You slowly shift from being an active participant to a passive observer in the life you helped build. Why does this happen? A silent myth has seeped into our culture. The idea that wisdom has an expiration date, that newer means better, that old means irrelevant. But here's the truth beneath it all. Most people still long for calm voices and steady hands. They've just forgotten how to see them for what they are. And here's the quiet, unexpected irony. The less you try to assert your opinions, the more your words begin to matter. When you speak sparingly and with intention, people start listening differently. Your experience turns into a quiet authority, one that doesn't need to raise its voice to be heard. So if you've felt this shift, don't let it make you bitter. Let it make you wise. Fewer words, more impact. You still hold value. Now your voice carries weight because you know exactly when to use it. You also begin to notice something else, something much harder to talk about. You start attending more funerals than birthdays. No one prepares you for this. In your 20s, your calendar is full of weddings, baby showers, and birthday parties. Those happy milestones give life its rhythm, full of joy, laughter, and forward momentum. But somewhere along the way, the rhythm changes. And it happens quietly, without ceremony. By the time you reach your 80s, you find yourself reaching for dark clothing more often than party hats. The invitations that once meant celebration now often carry the weight of goodbye. Gatherings shift from toasts and cake to eulogies and silent embraces. And with each farewell, it feels like a small piece of your own past disappears. What's most painful isn't only the grief, though that alone can be crushing. It's the repetition. Month after month, someone you knew, someone who helped shape your story, is suddenly gone. Friends you once laughed with, neighbors who once sat beside you on the porch. They're no longer just far away, they're unreachable. Porch conversations fade. Former coworkers who once felt like family are suddenly nowhere to be found. One by one, the circle grows smaller. And the silence that follows each goodbye? It lingers longer than before, quiet, heavy, and familiar. There's also a strange kind of guilt that can start to settle in. The guilt of still being here. Some call it survivor's guilt. You begin to ask yourself silently, why am I still standing when so many others, good, kind, vibrant people, are not? You feel thankful for escaping certain illnesses or close calls, but there's also an aching sense of emptiness for those who didn't. And because grief is everywhere at this stage, woven into almost every life, people don't always bring it up. They might offer a warm hug at a memorial, whisper a few kind words, and then never speak of that person again. That silence, though unintentional, can make your own sadness feel even heavier, almost as if you're carrying it alone. What many don't realize is this: constant loss doesn't just break your heart, it wears on your spirit. It chips away at your willingness to open up again. You might find yourself pulling back, hesitant to connect with new people for fear of losing them too. Or on the other hand, you may cling more tightly than ever to those who remain, afraid of saying another goodbye. Neither reaction is wrong. They're both natural. They're your heart's way of trying to shield itself from more pain. But in those moments, here's something vital to remember. Every loss you've felt is living proof that love was there. That connection mattered, that you've lived a life with depth, care, and meaning. And even when the weight feels unbearable, those who are still here, the ones who check in, who still call, who show up when it matters, they mean more than ever. At this stage of life, love doesn't have to be wide or flashy. It just needs to be deep. A few close, sincere relationships can bring more comfort than a room full of casual friends. So let yourself grieve. Speak their names, share their stories out loud. Let your tears be a way to honor the bonds that helped shape who you are. But just as importantly, let yourself keep going. Not just surviving, but living. Fully. Bravely. That's the kind of legacy your loved ones would want you to carry forward. If you've made it this far and these words resonate with you, take a moment to comment number 2 below. It lets me know you're here and that you're finding meaning in this journey we're sharing. And if you haven't subscribed yet, now's the perfect time. Hit that button and turn on the bell so you never miss future videos. Your support helps us keep making content that informs, comforts, and uplifts. Now, let's keep going. Doctors start treating you like a checklist, not like a person. It often begins subtly. You sit down in the exam room. The nurse checks your blood pressure, quickly notes it, and then moves on to a list of routine questions. No real eye contact, no warmth. Just clicks on a screen. Boxes ticked off one by one. The routine continues. Questions about sleep, diet, medications, checked off one after another. Then the doctor steps in, takes a quick glance at your chart, and asks how you're doing. But before you can get through the first sentence about that strange ache in your back or the steady drop in energy you've felt over the last few weeks, they're already moving on to the next item. It's not because doctors don't care. Many of them genuinely do. But as you grow older, something subtle and frustrating starts to happen. You're no longer seen as a person with a full story. Instead, you become a list. Symptoms, prescriptions, risk factors. The chart becomes louder than your voice, all the things that make you you. Your preferences, your history, your way of expressing what's off, begin to fade behind a wall of forms and medical checklists. It's not just disheartening. It can feel like you've been reduced to a number, a case, or a routine. But here's the thing. You know your body better than anyone else. You can sense the changes, even the smallest ones. That nagging feeling that something isn't quite right? It matters. Yet too often, this inner knowledge is brushed aside. You hear phrases like, "That's just part of getting older," or "We usually expect that at your age," as if aging itself is a catch-all diagnosis, and anything beyond that is just noise. This kind of treatment doesn't just affect your health, it chips away at your dignity. When you're rushed, when your concerns are waved off, you might begin to pull back. You might start to question your own instincts. You may even catch yourself thinking, maybe I'm overreacting, when in truth, something real might need attention. And this is why so many seniors grow hesitant to visit the doctor. It's not just about the cost of copays or long waits in chilly rooms. It's about walking into an appointment hopeful and walking out feeling invisible. When you don't feel heard, you're less likely to trust the advice you're given. You ask fewer questions. You stop advocating for yourself. But here's something powerful to hold on to. You have the right to be heard. You've lived long enough to ask the questions that matter. You've earned the right to pause a rushed visit and say, "Hold on. I'm not finished yet." You are not a statistic. You are a whole person with a history, a voice, and a perspective that counts. The best care isn't just clinical. It comes from professionals who see you, really see you as a full human being. Not just a chart, but a story worth listening to. The care you deserve must come with context, with dignity. And sometimes that means you'll have to fight a little harder to find it. Advocating for yourself isn't always easy. It can be tiring. But it matters, because you are not a checklist. You are a full story still unfolding, rich with history, meaning, and strength. Never let anyone treat you like you're just a footnote. Your body may still be here, but your reflection doesn't always feel like you. There comes a moment that's hard to describe, yet many people experience it after turning 80. You pass by a mirror or glance at your reflection in a shop window, and for a brief second, you pause, not recognizing the person staring back. The face has your eyes. The frame, the posture, they're familiar. But something about it all feels distant, off, as if the outside doesn't quite match the inside anymore. And then you realize, that is you, but it doesn't feel like you. This quiet disconnection can be one of the most emotional and disorienting parts of aging. Inside, you still feel sharp, awake, capable. You remember running upstairs with ease, dancing without thinking, standing tall without any hesitation. You recall what it felt like to move freely, without that slight stiffness in your knees or that cautious awareness in your steps. But your skin now tells another story. Your joints, your hair, even your posture, all have changed, and they've done so gradually, often without asking for your consent. One day you wake up, and suddenly there's a noticeable gap between how you feel inside and what the mirror reflects. This isn't about vanity, it's about identity. It's about reconciling the bright, still-burning spark within you with the shell that has quietly aged around it. You still carry vivid memories of being 30, 50, even 70. You remember how you looked, how you moved, how the world responded to you, but now, those familiar movements are slower. Your smile may be softer, your hands may show every decade you've lived. The way you sit, the way you hold yourself, it's all subtly transformed, without announcement. And society doesn't exactly help. Advertisements, movies, and even kind compliments can carry an unspoken message. That youth is the only form of beauty that matters. That once the wrinkles appear or the hair fades, your worth fades too. But here's a truth too often overlooked. There is nothing more profoundly beautiful than a person who has truly lived and shows it. Your wrinkles? They're not flaws. They're the evidence of a life filled with stories, of joy, worry, laughter, tears, and perseverance. That slower walk? That's not weakness. It's resilience. It means you're still here, still moving, still going forward, step by step. And that reflection in the mirror? It may not look the way it once did, but it's still you. Wiser, deeper, richer in experience. Sometimes the hardest part of aging is simply learning to see yourself clearly again and realizing that what you see is still worthy of admiration and love. One of the hardest parts is learning to adjust your own expectations. Letting go of your younger self doesn't mean losing who you are. It simply means making space, room to honor every version of you that's ever existed. Every stage you've lived through, every chapter you've completed, they all deserve recognition. You're not disappearing, you're evolving. You're still here, still growing, still carrying memories, wisdom, and lessons that no one else can replicate. And that reflection in the mirror? It's not some unfamiliar face. It's someone who has faced seasons of change, stood tall through loss, and shown up with courage and grace. The version of you right now, today, is not less than who you were at 30 or 50. It's the sum of every version you've been, layered and deepened by time. That's something to respect, something to stand proudly in. If you're still with us and these thoughts are resonating, please comment number 4 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, now's the perfect time. Hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell so you never miss a future video. Your support helps us keep creating thoughtful, empowering content to inform and uplift. Let's continue. The world around you moves too fast, and you're expected to keep up or risk being left behind. There comes a point where the pace of life doesn't just feel quick, it feels relentless. It's not only about physical speed, it's mental, emotional, and cultural. After 80, it's common to feel like the world you once knew has shifted into something unfamiliar, and it happened in the blink of an eye. What makes it harder? Everyone else seems to expect you to adjust instantly, without missing a beat. It shows up in everyday situations. You head to the store to buy groceries, but instead of a friendly cashier, you're met with a self-checkout machine filled with flashing lights and unclear prompts. You try to schedule a doctor's appointment, only to be redirected to an online portal, complete with long drop-down menus and robotic voice systems that make you feel more lost than helped. You might even get an invite to a family event, but it was sent in a group text you were never added to. Life has accelerated, and somewhere along the way, it stopped pausing for you. This creates a quiet, invisible kind of isolation, not because the people around you don't care, but because they assume you're keeping up. Or worse, they don't even notice you're struggling. Tasks that were once second nature, making a phone call, booking a service, asking a simple question, now come with added layers. Passwords, verification codes, unfamiliar apps, digital interfaces that seem designed for people decades younger. Even conversations can feel alien, full of slang, acronyms, internet memes, and cultural references that don't land. You listen, but sometimes it feels like they're speaking a different language. It's not that you're out of touch. It's that you're overwhelmed by wave after wave of changes you never asked for, technologies, systems, expectations you didn't grow up with and never needed to navigate before. And it's not like you haven't adapted. You've weathered wars, recessions, and sweeping cultural shifts. You've evolved through decades of change. But eventually, when every new update comes with a steep learning curve, the energy to constantly keep up starts to wear thin. It's not about stubbornness, it's about mental exhaustion. Yet the world doesn't pause to consider that. You're still expected to perform, to stay available, to keep up as if nothing has changed. And when you express even a little frustration, you're met with rolled eyes or labeled as stuck in your ways. If you ask for help, someone might sigh and say, "It's easy, just tap here," as if tapping were the whole story. But the pace never slows, it simply assumes you'll speed up. Let's say this clearly because it needs to be said, you don't owe anyone speed. You don't need to force yourself to match a rhythm that was never designed for your stage of life. There's nothing wrong with choosing slowness, with valuing clarity over convenience, with preferring face-to-face conversation over digital shortcuts. In fact, the depth, presence, and quiet wisdom you bring into a room often outweigh the flashiest new gadget or trend. You don't have to resist change to find peace. You just need to be intentional about how and when you engage with it. You can decide when to participate and when to step back. You can ask for help without apology. You can create space around the pace that feels right for you. And you can gently remind those around you that lived experience isn't something to bypass, it's something to lean on, something that holds tremendous value. The world may continue to race forward, but that doesn't mean you have to sprint with it. Sometimes the strongest, wisest thing you can do is move at your own rhythm and let others remember why that still matters. Take a moment now, breathe, not to feel overwhelmed, but to feel understood. Because everything we've talked about, these 5 powerful truths, they aren't just random facts about aging. They're your reality. And being seen in that truth, that matters. These aren't just facts about getting older. They're deeper truths that many carry silently, often without ever saying a word. Recognizing them doesn't make you weak. It makes you wise. It means you're aware of what's really happening, not just on the surface, but beneath it all. Maybe one of these insights hit close to home. Maybe several did. Perhaps you've noticed all 5 playing out in your own life. The important thing isn't which ones you've experienced. It's understanding that you're not imagining things. You're not alone. These shifts are real. And facing them with honesty and strength is one of the most powerful things you can do. You've lived through more than most people today could even imagine. You've adapted to change, endured hardship, found joy, experienced grief, and offered love, again and again. You've moved through decades with resilience, courage, and depth. Just because the world doesn't always reflect that back to you doesn't mean your worth has faded. In fact, it's quite the opposite. What you carry, your calm, your clarity, your long view of life, is exactly what the world needs more of right now. Your presence offers something that can't be downloaded or taught in a class, real perspective. So hold these insights close. Let them remind you that your voice matters, that it's more than okay to speak up when you feel dismissed, to feel sorrow when you've lost, to slow down when the world speeds up. It's okay to honor your journey, to make space for your story, and most of all, to choose what feels right for you. Thank you for spending this time with us. We'd truly love to hear from you. Leave a comment below and share one thing that stood out to you today and how you might carry it forward in your life. Your thoughts matter deeply to us. Reading your words encourages and inspires us more than you know. If you found this video meaningful, please give it a like, subscribe to our channel, and share it with someone who might need to hear this message. Your support helps us continue creating content that informs, comforts, and uplifts. Wishing you continued health, happiness, and peace. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel so we can keep walking this journey together.